big mistake that most real estate agents make is that they just don't have enough leads in their business, right? And they're like, oh, why am I not selling more deals? I'm like, number one, the biggest mistake is that they don't have enough leads. Do you want to do Miami-Dade County? You want to do this MSA? What do you want to do?
Let's do Miami-Dade. Yeah, let's do it a little bit more specific than the
Cool.
Tri-County.
All right, cool. So do Miami-Dade County, okay? And your asset class of choice is
Preferably multifamily. I think everything else.
okay, cool. So let's talk about multifamily. Now, obviously, when you're diving into multifamily, you can click on any one of these. They kind of sort everything the same. I would probably just click on general. A lot of people would just be like, oh, okay, great. And I have 11,700 properties and that's it. But we can get a lot deeper, right? So if we go to includes a phone number, now we're down to 10,168. But it's like, okay, well, that's not enough because I want to make sure that I'm calling the most motivated list. And if I'm calling everybody, this one just sold in 2024, it would be kind of stupid for me to call them, right? It's also owned by Miami-Dade County. I probably shouldn't call them because it doesn't make any sense, right? So you can make some sorts of like a person who owns less than, let's say, two properties in their total portfolio. You can do something like hasn't sold within at least the last 20 years. Now you're down to 965 just in Miami-Dade County. Let's take a look real quick. It's like, okay, well, now through this, I probably don't want to call something that was built in 2022. That makes no sense. Built in 2024 because they may have owned it for a long time and then they knocked it down and they built brand new, right? So we're going to go through sort, and I don't want to call anything that's built after the year 2000. Now it's like, okay, let's continue to go through this. Well, it's like I have a 4 unit, a 6 unit, a 3 unit. Maybe I don't want to call 3 units. Maybe I want to call maybe a little bit bigger. So maybe we'll call from like 6 units to 40 units, right? Just to try to stay underneath the all the big boys. So you have 40 units. It's like, okay, well now we're narrowing down this search as much as we possibly can to get something as motivated as possible so that when you call this person, the odds of them looking to sell are higher than if you called just some random list. But here's the important thing to pay attention to. There's only 246 properties on this list. And not 100% of these properties are going to be correct addresses. Correct phone numbers. 100% of these will not be correct phone numbers. You might have spent more money and skip trace these, but at least the property record might be accurate. And keep in mind that like when you call this 246, like you could dial 246 numbers in a day on a Mojo dialer. So the trick is like saying, okay, well, I can call these 246 in a minute. Well, what can I do to like kind of back it up? Because you have 1,000 exports a month, or if you use, we have a system where we can provide endless amounts of data. But it's like, okay, well, how much data do you even need, right? Like, because if you go out, like you get rid of the 6 to the 40 units, you're up to 1,000 records. You can call 1,000 records in a couple days. Now, this is all sizes of multifamily, which isn't exactly a horrible thing because this will take you a week or 2 weeks. Now, obviously, look, again, let's just say that you took 2 weeks, right, to call 1,000 properties. Okay, that's 10 days, 100 roughly dials a day, right? Which is nothing, right? Like, especially if you use an auto dialer, you could do that easily. Okay, you're maybe talking about an hour to 3 hours at most. That's if you got a great pickup rate. Okay, but here's the thing. You're only going to speak to maybe 10 or 15% of them on the first go around. And you're probably going to have at least 20 to 40% of correct numbers here. You'll at least be able to speak to, let's just say conservatively, 95 to 200 people in this list. Right. And then let's just say of the people you speak to, maybe 10 to 30% of those are even open to the idea of selling. I'm not saying at a wonderful price, but just open to the idea. So it's like, let's just say we have 20% of that number. So you have 200 people you speak to, and then of the 200, 20% are actually interested in or open to the idea of selling. This list should get you something like 40 leads.
Got it.
If you called it repeatedly and like actually squeeze the juice out of these lists.
Got it.
Right.
So you run this into you said your skip trace. So you just drop all this, you export it, you throw it into the skip trace, then you skip trace all the numbers, then you throw it into the Mojo dialer.
And
And
most
then,
of the times, like just the beginning of your career, you don't even need to skip trace this. Throw it into your dialer. And then
okay.
what'll happen is that you whittle down your dialing list because every single time someone answers the phone, you delete it, right? So it's like if you call somebody, they answer the phone, regardless if it's correct or incorrect, you delete the number because you're going to either put it in your CRM because it's the correct number or delete it because it's a bad number. So you're cleaning the list as you go through the list. So now it's like, okay, well, this is now what'll happen is you have 947, but you can start edging up in the list because like instead of doing 2, you can go to like, okay, I'll call up to 3 properties in a portfolio. Instead of 20 years, I'll do the last 10 years, right? And now it's like, okay, well, now I have 1,750 properties to go through. So now like this, in my opinion, maybe go to 5 here. Right, this might be a good place to start. Right, so you have 2,100 properties. Right, this should be able to spit out 50 to 100 leads. Now, again, maybe 10% of those are going to be at a price you can actually sell it, right? So let's say 100 leads, 10 good ones, 10 like transactions are in this list easily, right? Because you know what you could do? Watch how crazy this is. If I just go to sold within the last 12 months to actually see what's actually selling in this list here, if we just look at multifamily in general, what is sold within the last 12 months, there's 324 properties. So it's like every year you have 300, and this is just Miami-Dade County. Now, if I go rid of this, I might just get rid of the phone number because it doesn't really matter. But 406 in the last 12 months, multifamily is traded. So it's like, okay, well, if you go to just total, how many properties are in this list? There's 7,100 and 7,117. So that means every single year, 6% of that is trading. 5 to 6% of that is trading, right? So that means 5 to 6% of almost any list you're calling is trading, right? So it's, okay, great. I want to find the most motivated list. We do exactly what we just did. Now, within the last 10 years, the property owner, five properties at most, and just start whittling down this list.
So Reonomy seems like a must.
I would recommend Reonomy for sure. Now, if you just want property records, because obviously this is a little bit more than just property records, right? Like, you can look up properties, you can look up different things, right? I can look at different things. I mean, I don't know if I'll care about those. Whatever. I can click on this property. I was going to say I don't want to see these new brand new construction things, but so it's like I can look at it. I can get any type of view. I can understand all the property records of it. I can look at the owner. This might be a great. Let's see when they last bought something actually. Last acquisitions date.
I think I saw January 2024.
Or January or June or something like that. Yeah. I mean, they just have a ton of products. I mean, this is June of 2024 last acquisition, so they just bought last year, right? They have 3,000 units, some in Miami, mostly actually a lot in Florida, but Texas, Houston, right? Like, point is like, okay, great. Like, this is why I like Reonomy too, because it's like not just even about the sellers, but it's like, okay, well, now I have a multifamily deal I need to sell. I can reverse prospect, right? I can go back to the list, which is here. I can go to my property list, and then I can flip it. I can go to properties, watch this, properties that you just reverse it, right? You include a phone number, you get rid of person, and then you do within the last 12 months, or you do last 2 years. The last 2 years have been the same, basically. And then what you'll do, sure, you can get rid of how many properties are in their record, because then now you don't want that much in the criteria. Because if you hit apply and you go to owners, I can see all the property owners in this metric, right? Like I can see like, okay, well clearly I should get to know these people, because it's like, okay, well they own 10 properties in this record, they own $300 million worth of real estate. And the last thing they bought was last January. I mean, this guy, I would love to know Ramon, because like this guy, just bought something in March of this year. Like these guys are players in this market. It's like, don't make it complicated. Like we can sell any deal you want, right? But it's like, okay, great. First thing we're going to do is like, well, if you want to know multifamily, I would do two things at the same exact time. Spend the mornings prospecting for deals, afternoon hunting these lists. Because like the top 50 people on this list, every single person should be your best friend. You should call all these guys, go meet them for coffee. Like these are the guys you want to play tennis with. These are the guys you want to play golf with. These are the guys you want to hang out with. These are the guys you smoke a cigar with. Because it's like, dude, imagine if every single one of these guys was in your Rolodex. Cell phone, you could text them anytime, 24/7, 365. Because now it's like, okay, no matter what you find multifamily wise, boom, I got it.
I like that.
And that's it. That's the simplicity of this game. Now it's obviously knowing when the opportunities are good enough and everything else, but it's like this is how we simply find it. Now it works for every asset class. It works for every type of asset class or location around the country.
Basically, get a Reonomy account, 50 buyers, the top 50 buyers.
And you can go farther on the buyers list as it goes on, but yeah, start with the top 50.
Okay, and then sellers just create a criteria and then just start drilling.
And then what I would tell you is that what's important is the following process. You're going to lead gen for the first 3, 4, 5 hours a day, by the way. Okay. Like every day, I'd say like until noon/1 o'clock, you're doing nothing besides prospecting for new business. Big mistake that most real estate agents make is that they just don't have enough leads in their business, right? And they're like, oh, why am I not selling more deals? I'm like, number one, the biggest mistake is that they don't have enough leads. Seller leads specifically. You never want that to be you. So You're going to prospect till 12 or 1 o'clock, try to get 2 or 3 seller leads every single day. They don't have to be unbelievable opportunities, but you want to try to get at least 2 or 3 people who are open to the idea of selling every day. Like as an example, I was prospecting today. And again, I prospected for an hour and 30 minutes today. I got one guy who's looking to buy a buyer. Okay. One guy who's looking to buy a multifamily in a specific area where we have some product. I got a seller who wants to sell a 40 some odd thousand square foot building, industrial property. And I got another one, which was another industrial deal today. I got two sellers and one buyer today. And I called for an hour and 30 minutes. And then a third seller lead, which is like this guy's interested in selling, but he wants to sell in a few months. He said, follow up, call me back in July. That was from an hour and 30 minutes. So I got two decently warm seller leads ready to sell today, like open the idea of selling now for a fair, for some type of price. Another guy who wants to sell in July, and one buyer. That's from a 90-minute session. So it's like if you're doing it for 4 hours a day, I mean, on average, you should be getting more than that. The second half of your day is like, okay, now that you generated the opportunity, working together, I'm going to teach you how to evaluate these deals like this. You're going to be like, okay, I talked to the guy. I know if it's a good deal or not. Like as soon as they give you the information and they tell you a price, you're immediately going to be like, this is a deal or not. You're going to know, right away, you're going to know. So, because that's more than half the battle. Because sometimes they're just like, yeah, I want $2 million. And you have no idea, okay, is that going to sell? Is that not going to sell? Like, am I going to waste my time? Whatever. We're going to work on working up that muscle. We're going to build that muscle together to know if it's a good deal or not. Because then what you're going to do is the entire rest of the day is that you're just going to spend the entirety of the rest of the day from like 1 o'clock on, maybe the first 30 minutes to an hour is follow up on your selling leads, but the remaining part of your day is just mainly buyer business, which is taking any of the good opportunities you have, which are now going to go on your hot list, and trying to sell it.
Okay.
And that's it. So like imagine like, okay, so I have my day, like I just told you, like I'm going to bring up one of these leads, okay? So I got this one deal, okay. One of them was a brand new, newer construction, 14,000 square foot warehouse flex building. I have that property, and I will. I'm going to call this week, okay? And I spent a little bit of time today, but I left a bunch of messages. They didn't answer me today. Casual thing that we did. I called about 15 different guys. Some of my best investors are religious Jews, so like they're on holiday today and tomorrow. So I'm going to be able to get a hold of them on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and we're going to talk about some of these deals. But like this deal specifically, I know for a fact 2 of my guys who are on holiday right now would love this deal. So what I would do is I'd be calling them up immediately. So as soon as I go into that time window of the day, I'll call them up and it'll be like, hey, so-and-so, do you have a few minutes? You in front of a computer? Let's talk about a deal. He's like, yeah, sure, I'm in front of a computer. Give me an address. I give him the address. I don't care. I'll just give him the fucking address. I don't need him to sign an NDA. I don't care. Unless a seller makes me sign an NDA, I don't care. Like, I trust my guys. They're not going to screw me. Now, if you've never met them before, you can get them to sign whatever you want. I just think it's a waste of time most of the time. I'll give them the address. I'll go through the deal. I'll be like, hey, the property's 14,000 square feet. It's got 10 suites. It brings in X amount of money. It's 100% occupied. The guy's looking for X price. And we'll go through the deal. And we'll underwrite it together and we'll evaluate it together. And I get to learn how they understand the deal. And we're like, okay, well, what is like, they'll be like, what's the taxes? What is the leases like? What, like who pays what? And they're going to go through all these different details. If it's a multifamily, they're going to be like, well, what's the unit breakdown? Do they pay any utilities, right? Like what, any renovations, have they done any renovations in the last 5 or 10 years? And you're going to have all, you'll have all these answers. You'll be like, oh, that's a great question. I'll make sure I ask that question. I'll get that back to you. And then at the very end, I'll go, okay, so based on all the information we reviewed, what price do you feel like you can make sense of? So in the same day, I go from generating the opportunity to having an offer on it. Now, I don't give a if the guy wants to list it. I don't care if he said whatever he says, because I know in most cases, like in this deal specifically, okay, I know it's not multifamily, but this industrial deal, this guy says he wants about $3 million. I don't know if I'll get to $3 million, but I'll be damn close. I already know my guy's going to probably be at 2.8. I already know he's going to be at 200 a foot in this market. I know for a fact I can get. He wants 220, what is that?
14 to 8,
yeah.
like 2 foot, yeah.
Whatever. Yeah, like basically 205 a foot. 210, whatever it is. Whatever it is, okay? My point is like, it's not like I feel very confident. I think you're right, 214 a foot. I'm going to be this close to putting a deal together, and it's been 24 hours with the deal. So I know that I can get a letter of intent in this guy's inbox in 24 to 48 hours, almost no problem. Now, the important part is being able to decipher which leads are worth that conversation, where you're going to be that close, so you don't waste your time.
Exactly.
I've been doing this a while, so it'll be a little bit different of a conversation. But on the call, I literally was like, hey, because I called him as an investor myself, not as a broker. And I basically said, like, look, if I can get you an offer right now for $2.5 million, would you be open to moving forward? He told me, he said 3.5. And I said, okay, if I got you an offer for 2.5, do you think we can maybe put a deal together? And he thought about it, and he was quiet for a moment, dead silent. And he goes, listen, I need to be at least a 3 in front of it to move forward. I was like, okay, so if I got you an offer today at $3 million, you'd be prepared to move forward today? He goes, yes. So I know I already got him down 500,000 and I didn't do anything.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
2.5 is an irrelevant offer because I knew I can get him to two. I knew I can get my guy at 2.8. So it's like I'm able to pre-negotiate where I now am setting myself up for success, right? Because if hypothetically the guy said, "Listen, I need 4 million for this building," and I said 2.5, same exact process, and the guy goes, I don't need to sell it. If I don't get 4 million, I don't need to, like it's no deal." I know I'm never getting to 4 million. Right. So I don't need to waste any more time in calling buyers and then getting their feedback and or trying to pitch a listing because it would be a complete waste of time. When every other agent's like, okay, well, why don't we just list it on the market and see what the market says? Like, and then they pitch this whole thing and they like try to force this guy to list a property for sale at way higher than it's actually worth, and then they just waste a bunch of time and money. So it's like that's the sifting process. And again, obviously, as you generate opportunities, you can, you and I can talk about every single one of them, and I'll point out the nuances. Like, hey, like, great, and you're going to find these markets. Like, okay, got it. This market's trading for 250 a unit. This market's trading for 300 a unit. This market's trading, and then if it looks like this, it trades for 150 a unit. You'll pick up on these types of things where like every time you're speaking to somebody, as soon as they tell you a price and the details, you're like, "This is a 250 deal," and the guy said he wants 350 a unit. There's no way. And like you could be like right on the phone and be like, "Okay, so if I got you an offer of X price, which is like 225 a door, right, or 200 a door, you could sell it all day long to three guys," and the guy goes, "I can't do 200 a door, but I could do 250 a door," right? Or whatever the price back is. You're like, "Okay, no problem. So if I got you an offer of X price per door, I mean, you're ready to move forward." Yes, great. Again, if only if you get my price, blah, 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 right? You're like, "Okay, great, no problem. I'm calling up John, Sal, whoever. I know I can get this offer done."
I have a client that I just sat with yesterday. I'm having him talk to a lender right now, but he wants to do assisted living facilities. He says
Mhm.
he has two locations. He's looking to get a lot more, but he's looking for investors to also take his business model and then park it in a building. What I found out today is you can't just purchase a residential property and turn it into an ALF. It has to be leased first because you have to have 2 years of historicals running that business.
Mhm.
So I have a duplex off market that a GC sent me, and I'm wondering, I don't know how familiar you are with ALF. How specific is it to zoning? Does it get just approved, or does it have to be within a commercial district?
Well, I mean, you could literally go, you can either call up the town, which I would always recommend. When you don't know an answer when it comes to zoning, just call the zoning office.
Yeah.
Okay. But I'm going to be blunt, like every town is different. Okay. There are some towns that are super open-minded to development and working with people, and there are some towns that are not at all open to the idea of doing it.
Yeah.
Right. And also keep in mind that like you can't just put them anywhere, like it's like I mean, like, look, the extreme example I always say to people is like you can't just put a strip club next to a elementary school. It's like, well, it's a good building for it. Like it doesn't matter. Like they're not just going to let you do that, right? Like there has to be some common sense. And it's like if you just think with common sense, a duplex, a two family, is probably not going to be something that they would consider doing it with.
Yeah, I thought about it because it's 8 bedrooms and 4 bathrooms. It's
Yeah.
ideal. It's 2 floors, so it would be ideal to park a lot of people inside.
Well, I
Probably
mean, like, look, it's like in my mind, it's like unless there is an unreasonable amount of parking,
there is.
right?
It's a nice sized lot.
Great. So it's like it's in a zone, right, that isn't restricted based on certain things. Maybe it's open, but it's like it's gotta tell a story. Like, you know what I mean? Like it's gotta make sense. Like so many people are just like, why won't they let me to build a 180-story building here? It's like, oh, well, you're not in Brickell. It's
So
gotta tell a story. So like it's not 100% no, but I would call the town.